Well, good day, everybody, and welcome to the Research Methods edition of 5 Minute Psych. In this 5-minute segment, we'll look at ethics, which applies to psychologists not only with therapy when you're working with clients, but also with research when you're working with participants. We'll begin with a look at the core ethical principle that guides researchers before considering 3 key aspects of research ethics. Finally, we'll examine how the rights of research participants is protected. Anyone conducting psychological research is expected to adhere to a set of ethical guidelines that, at the very core, demand respect for the dignity and welfare of all research participants, both human and animal. If these ethical standards aren't followed, then the researcher loses out in 2 ways. First, they wouldn't be able to publish their results, and they would be banned from doing any future research. Second, they likely didn't get the best data from their participants since they were treated unethically. Good research requires that participants are comfortable and willing to be involved, and following ethical standards guarantees that. There are 3 key aspects of research ethics. The first involves informed consent, which includes 2 parts, informed and consent. The informed part says that prior to participation, participants have the right to be informed of all aspects of the study. So the researcher has to tell them everything about the study up front, especially any aspects that would affect their willingness to participate. The consent part says that after learning about all the ins and outs of the study, the participant then can agree to participate or not. This is why all research participants are asked to sign a consent form before any data is collected. Even after giving consent, however, the participant always has the right to withdraw at any time. It isn't always possible to get informed consent, and in these cases, it's much more difficult for a study to get ethics approval. This is the case with vulnerable populations, such as children or people who are mentally challenged. In these cases, the individual can't give legal consent and may not have the cognitive ability to be fully informed. With these populations, the researcher would get informed consent from a legal representative and obviously would also need assent from the participant themselves. They would have to be willing to participate. Related to this topic is animal populations, because they're also vulnerable in the sense that they have 0 say in whether they participate or not. There's usually a special review board just for animal research. Informed consent also isn't possible with deception, when the researcher has to lie to participants in order to collect their data. In these cases, participants would give consent, but they wouldn't be fully informed. The second key aspect of research ethics is debriefing, which occurs after the study when participants are fully informed of the purpose of the study, particularly if deception was used, and any questions are answered. Participants are also given contact information in case they have questions or concerns in the future. The third key aspect of research ethics is confidentiality, which states that any information gathered about the participant must be kept in strictest confidence. All data must be stored securely, and no identifying information about the participant can be stored with the data. Finally, if the researcher wished to use any personal information, the participant would have to give permission first. In many countries, the first step in any research project is a detailed written proposal that's reviewed by a research ethics board. The board is made up of other researchers, as well as people from the general population, and they're especially interested in why your study is necessary and how you will get your data from your participants. They then consider the benefits of your study in terms of the knowledge that humankind would gain from it, and they weigh that against the risks that the individual research participants would succumb to. If the risks are considered greater than the benefits, then the study would not get approval and no participants could be tested. But if the benefits are deemed to be greater, then the study would be given ethics approval and the researcher could begin testing participants. Even so, some studies would never be allowed, no matter how great the benefits, just because the risks to the sample would be too great. Well, we just looked at the core ethical principle that guides psychological research, and then we focused on 3 key aspects of research ethics. Finally, we looked at how ethical research decisions are made and how the rights of participants, both animal and human, are carefully considered before any research is conducted. Now, aren't you glad you had 5 minutes?